morning, wherever you are in the world. I thought I would kick things off nice and early, 8:32 UK time, just to go through any questions that you guys want. And as you can tell by the title of this video, wherever it is, probably below here, I've made a transfer. You could probably guess who is gone from the thumbnail off the back of that terrible news that Dominic Solanke has been ruled out for game week 2 and a potential date for game week 3. So we had to force the transfer, and I'm going to show you my team, how it is looking going into game week 2, because I'm pretty much set. There shouldn't be any panic stations on this stream today, thankfully. I was hoping to go into this game week nice and relaxed, no problems whatsoever. Unfortunately, Dominic Solanke did throw a curveball, but I feel like we've rectified the problem, and I feel like I have brought in the best alternative for my own team. And I'm going to show you why exactly I brought in that player, because I think it's really important to understand what you exactly want to do with your team. And it is, of course, player but dependent on your own teams. As always, if you look forward to today's stream, make sure you drop a like. Always massively appreciated to get it out there for maybe other managers that are panicking right now on exactly what to do. And of course, if you're watching this right now, you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you playing at? Get subscribed to the channel for daily fantasy content. If you don't enjoy it, no bother whatsoever. Do not mind you unsubscribing, as I'm not providing any value. So hopefully you guys have got questions. Please put them in the chat. That is the whole purpose of this stream, for me to show you my team, to answer all your questions, hopefully have a laugh, and any last minute updates we might get in the Twitter sphere will update on this stream here. So let's just see who's in the chat. Cheeks to early, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Multi-technique, as always, in the chat. Jay's asking, Muniz price rise to 6.1, which is huge. I missed your previous stream, just watch it. Yes, we will come on to that in a minute with those price changes, which players actually went up and down, because that was a big night last night. A lot of price predictors didn't have certain players rising and falling, others did. Lo and behold, pretty much all the players in contention actually did rise in price, which was terrible for those that didn't make the move. JP's asking, hi mate, start Robinson or Gabriel? Really difficult one here, because I really do back this Arsenal defence in every single fixture, but I think you've got to play the fixture, and it would be Robinson in this situation. But if you're scared of the Arsenal defensive coverage, then of course lean towards Gabriel, but logically I think the answer is Robinson in this situation. Also, do I think Murphy starts, or should I play Smith Rowe? I think regardless, I probably would play Smith Rowe. I think Murphy is a good pick, but players available to Newcastle, we know there is a tendency for rotation. We could see Harvey Barnes take some minutes away from Murphy, or Anthony Gordon in this situation. I think both are good. I think both could deliver. I probably would just lean towards the home fixture for Smith Rowe as opposed to the away fixture for Murphy. But it's a great fixture for Newcastle nonetheless against Bournemouth. I still think that would be a good game to play your Newcastle players if you want to. Daytex saying, week 2 stress, of course, about to hit full effect. Triple captain Haaland decisions making me need a drink. I'm hoping you're not in the UK right now, because it's 8:36. Needing a drink, not the best time. Aiden's asking 4 defenders or Ahmad/Rogers in midfield. Aiden, it's all about what those 4 defenders are. Let me know in the chat, who are those 4 specific defenders. End of the day, if it's 4 premium defenders, that's probably your answer there. But if it is 4 ragbag, terrible defenders, then we might have to lean towards, I'm going to say Rogers over Ahmad, because I think every game week that passes, Amad Diallo's game time gets a little bit riskier each and every day. So that's a bit of a concern, and a reason why I personally opted for Rogers over Ahmad, as I felt like long term he was way more sustainable. Cool, so keep putting them in the chat, guys, but let's be real. I want to get into my team to show you what we're looking at right now. So this is how the team is looking going into game week 2, and I'm going to put it out there, I am pretty much locked in with this team. So for those that don't know what my team looked like in game week 1, basically this, but I had Dominic Solanke in my team, and with that injury news that he's ruled out for game week 2 and potentially game week 3, that is enough for me to pull the trigger and bring in a certain Muniz of Fulham. Now, we can't go off any information in game week 1, it's one game week. So people sitting there thinking, Muniz didn't have his best game in game week 1. Let's be real, it was away against Man United. It is one game. This is the real money fixture that we're looking at for Fulham assets. Muniz game time, I'm anticipating to be pretty solid. I'm expecting 75 minutes from Muniz, which is absolutely fine in my eyes for the upcoming game weeks. I don't think he is a direct rotation as a starter for Raul Jimenez. I see it more as a minutes risk later on in the game. And for me, Muniz was just a logical pick. So I'll go through some of my thought process why I brought him in. It might help you guys in terms of what direction you're going in. And then hopefully we can deep dive into some of the questions. So the one thing I will say before we come into this, I am one of those managers that has triple Fulham. I cannot believe I have triple Fulham. I am putting all my eggs in this silver basket, but I think the fixtures are good enough to justify the triple up. And let's be real, 4.5 for Robinson, 5.5 for Smith Rowe, 6 million for Muniz. I mean, like literally you put all those players together, you've got Haaland pretty much. So I love the idea of Fulham being a undervalued team and players. I just need to see it. I'm hoping it comes to fruition this game week. It feels like these players are underpriced. Hopefully we can actually get rewarded for it this game week. So the reason why I brought in Fulham assets, first and foremost, Muniz's fixtures are great. Leicester at home, Ipswich away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Forest away. Now, I built my team in game week 1 with the anticipation of wildcarding in game week 4, and I haven't ruled that out at all yet. So be noted, this is a squad that I built with the thought of going for a wildcard 4. So I'm more looking at 2 game weeks, but which players, if I wanted to postpone my wildcard, also offer long-term great fixtures. And Muniz is one of those players that absolutely ticks that box, because if I go for a wildcard 4, I'm getting Leicester at home and Ipswich away, which you can't really get much better than that. Even if you don't think Muniz is a good option, even if you think he's a rotation risk, those 2 fixtures, just in isolation, are some of the best around. So I looked at that and thought, Fulham just make a lot of sense. But if then we get to game week 4 and I look at my team and think, doesn't need a wild card. Game week 4 home against West Ham, not the best, but definitely not the worst. Then Newcastle at home, again, not great, but it's at home. If it was at Newcastle, it's a different story, but I wouldn't say this is the worst fixture in the schedule for Fulham. And then, most likely, if I've postponed my wildcard in game week 4, I most likely will do it in game week 6. So really, when we are looking at fixtures, and let me get this up for you now, we are, unless you're in a position where you're wildcarding a lot later on in the season, we are solely looking at game weeks 2 to 5 for some people. Honestly, because a lot of people are looking to wildcard in game week 6. Okay, if you didn't know that, a lot of people are. So really, we're only looking at a 4-game week window for a lot of managers. I apologise if you're not in this position right now. So when I look at it, I think Fulham, absolutely top of the tree here, especially for those first 2, Leicester and Ipswich. After that, Southampton definitely on the radar. Adam Armstrong in particular at 5.5 million, offering some incredible value. Nottingham Forest at home, Ipswich at home in game week 5, but Brentford away, Man United in between, promoted team, just signed Cameron Archer, have Diaz. Can I guarantee Adam Armstrong's minutes and returns? Probably not. I feel a bit more confident go for someone like a Muniz, who is slightly more expensive, but I kind of know what I'm getting from that Fulham team, hopefully, and that actual player. So Fulham and Southampton absolutely leading the way. Liverpool are not an option. Nobody's buying them. Brighton are interested because people were looking at João Pedro as an alternative. The problem is, those next 2 fixtures, I can't imagine anybody sat there right now with Dominic Solanke and looking at those and going, you know what, I'm going to bring in João Pedro now in preparation for game week 4. It's just not worth it. For me, you go for Adam Armstrong or you go for Muniz, unless you are doing Solanke down to João Pedro to bench him, or you are really confident that he is going to deliver in the next 2. Otherwise, I think João Pedro probably is in a void for those coming game weeks. After that, Crystal Palace is a big one that we need to consider. The reason being is, and it is a slight different direction that you could take your team, Mateta. Now, what I'm going to bring up here is a certain Mateta. Let me get him up. And again, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, please do consider dropping a like. It's always massively appreciated. Just over 200 people, 18 likes. Come on, let's try and get it to 30 at least. Okay, so what I want to do is bring up Jean-Philippe Mateta. So this is an alternative Solanke replacement, and I want to quickly deep dive on this because this is a deliberation that I had on yesterday's stream. You need to be very, very thoughtful about which player you are bringing in for Dominic Solanke, and in particular, the price point that you're bringing in. So, for example, if you were to bring in Mateta, I actually think he is a really underrated pick. 45 minutes in game week 1. I believe he's fit for game week 2 unless I've missed anything. Fixtures, West Ham at home. I think that's a great fixture. Chelsea away. Let's be real, not a bad fixture. Then Leicester at home in game week 4. Game week 5 at home against Man United. Again, Man United probably better than what they were last year defensively, but still, it's not an amazing fixture, but you could play him in it if you wanted to. And then you're looking to maybe wildcard around this period. So Mateta is being really overlooked. However, if you are going across to a 7.5 million forward, you are basically jumping from Solanke to Mateta with 0 in the bank. The reason why I was a bit hesitant to do that myself is because if you take a look at my team, if I was to bring in Mateta here, the rest of my team is locked in then. I would have to have 2 free transfers to basically upgrade certain players. And that was my one concern with my team. If I was to go to Mateta, I would then have to roll a couple of transfers for me then to basically downgrade one player to upgrade the other. In particular, someone like an Alexander Isak. The reason why I'm saying that is because when we look at the fixtures coming up for Aston Villa, game week 2 is not ideal at home against Arsenal. But then after that, Leicester, Everton, then Wolves. So if I was in a position right now where I went for Mateta here, I would have no avenue to get to Watkins unless I downgraded somebody in this team to then upgrade an Alexander Isak to Ollie Watkins if he was to emerge as a fantastic option, which I think he will do at one point. So that was my one reasoning for going for Muniz over a Mateta is 6 million. The fixtures are better. I think his minutes are as locked in. I think he's a good goal scorer. And it frees up 1.5 million in the bank that if in game week 3, I look at it and think, I'm done with Isak, I want to bring in Ollie Watkins. That is an easy move for my team with 1.5 million in the bank. If you go for Mateta, the team becomes very, very structured in its place. And then I don't have the luxury to change my team depending on what we see in game week 2. So that was my reasoning behind Dominic Solanke in my teams. That's how we're looking. I am locked in. Captaincy will come on to in a minute as we do a poll in the chat and see what other thoughts are going on with people. But I wanted to come into this chat here because you guys have been very, very patient and I want to answer some of the questions that are in here. Let me just have a quick swill of the old H2O water and then we'll crack on. So Paul's asking what to do with Barco. Okay, so anyone that didn't know, Barco has gone, jumped on a plane, gone to Sevilla. So he's not available. A lot of people talking about the price changes with him. He's red flagged. So there's a lot of people talking right now saying that Barco's price is actually now going to be locked in at 4 million. I don't know the exact science behind it, but I do believe his price is now locked at 4 million. So if you own him, I would just keep him on your bench. 4 million defender, unless you built a team where you are relying on this 4 million defender to start for your teams, I just think it's a waste of a transfer. Yes, you could go to someone like Harwood Bellis. Yeah, if you want to go there, you can. But I think keeping Harwood Bellis in your team, let him rot on the third bench until you wildcard is the route that I would go for. I can't see why using your transfer is worth it. Jordan's asking, Mornemate, Muniz in? Correct. We have a new boy in the team, Muniz, with the triple Fulham. What am I doing? But the fixture is good for the next 2 game weeks at least. Warmax is saying, do I take a -4 because of Solanke or trust Ahmad? Okay, this is a tricky one because I hate taking a -4, especially this early on in the season. For me, I think I would just trust Amad Diallo and go with it. I don't think I would be doing a -4 because we could see a situation where Solanke is available for game week 3 and you can just play him then and then you don't have any issues. So for me, I would just trust Ahmad and keep Solanke. I know it's painful though, but a -4 is so hard to take right now. Tommy, morning, would you bench Smith Rowe, Wood or Nkunku? Okay, so in terms of Nkunku, this is a really interesting one and probably worth just doing a little bit of a section, 2-minute section, because I'm sure a lot of people out there are panicking about a Christopher Nkunku. So while I've got them on your screens, I just want to try and get up a little bit of an idea on what Chelsea looked like last night. Chelsea. So for those who don't know, Chelsea played Servette last on Thursday night. And I'll try and get the team up for you in a second. Cool. Okay, so quick one on Nkunku. Game week 1, not ideal. Coming off early against Man City, not the best situation. And now we know, of course, João Felix has been signed. Same price at 6.5 million. No idea how he is coming into this team. Is he coming in as a forward? Is he coming in as a 10? As a left winger? We're not going to know that information until he actually does get a start. So Nkunku is a slight problem. However, what has happened is game week 2 coming up. Prior to that, we had their game on Thursday against Servette. This is the team that he selected. So you can see we had Caicedo, Dewsbury Hall, and Nkunku in the midfield 3, Mudryk on the left, Pedro Neto on the right, Mark Guéhi up down the middle. The good thing about this, Pedro Neto is now a doubt for the weekend, which means another attacking player that is not going to be taking minutes away from Nkunku. So I think Nkunku's minutes have actually improved with the absence of Pedro Neto. And with the situation here of Nkunku, if we do actually see him play in this position, then this is a no-brainer for us to keep him in our teams. One of the most advanced players in that side, playing basically as a forward/10, having Mark Guéhi as that kind of batter and ram up front and Nkunku linking up around him. Palmer obviously went off with a slight knock. We think he's going to be available, but if he doesn't pass fit Nkunku on penalties, I just think it is not worth it right now getting rid of Nkunku in your teams. I think there's a solid chance that he does start this weekend because of the Pedro Neto chance of him being out, another player that can't take minutes away from him. And for that reason, I think if you have Nkunku, you absolutely do start him this game week. Now, in terms of who I'd bench between Smith Rowe and Wood, personally, I probably would bench Smith Rowe, unfortunately. I still think Wood is a good option for your teams. And I probably would go for Wood, controversially. I just don't know whether Smith Rowe minutes are going to be better than that of Woods. Thoughts on Danny Welbeck in for Solanke? I don't mind Danny Welbeck. The problem is this. Look at those fixtures. You're buying Danny Welbeck for Man United at home and then Arsenal away. Now, let's be real. Man United at home could be a fantastic fixture for Brighton, but with the signings that they've made, I think this could be a better Man United team defensively this year. I'm going to put it out there. I think it could be a better Man United team. So would I want to be buying Danny Welbeck instead of a Muniz or an Armstrong? Probably not. I prefer the likes that we mentioned. I'd even prefer João Pedro over a Danny Welbeck for the team. So no, I wouldn't go Danny Welbeck myself. But if you're in that position where you want him, go for it. Because that could be the ultimate differential. What's his actual price ownership right now in the game? 4.1%, 5.5 million forward, directly competing with João Pedro. Remember, they have signed Rutter or whatever from Leeds. That is going to be direct competition for both João Pedro and Danny Welbeck later down the line. And that is a concern for me, especially someone like Welbeck, who historically just picks up little niggles along the way. That feels like that is just inevitably going to happen. And I want to put a little poll in here and say, who is your Solanke replacement? And obviously, if you didn't have Solanke, you can't answer this, unfortunately, but you could hypothetically answer it of who you would do. So, who is your Solanke replacement? Let's put in Muniz. Let's put in Armstrong. I'm going to put in. I know a lot of people have gone for Havertz, and if it's an other, because I can only do 4, I'm going to put other and just put a comment on who your replacement is. I'll be super interested to know, guys, who your Solanke replacement is. If you don't have Dominic Solanke, maybe just hypothetically think, yeah, maybe I what's it called? If I had him, what I would do with him. Me too. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Toby, Yome, Harry, thoughts on Welbeck? Covered that one. Aina bench and Solanke transfer. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't actually know the status on Aina. Let me give you 2 seconds to search Aina. So supposedly, all we know is that Nuno said that the only absentee was Danilo. So it sounds like Aina could be okay. I probably would take the punt on Aina and hope for the best. But of course, we haven't got absolute guarantee what is going on. So you take it a slight risk, but it is what it is. I think you probably would just keep Aina for now. Adam, morning mate, saw you on Scout Stream and thought we'd give you a follow. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Where are you from? Yeah, so kind of like Bristol way. So not all the way down in Somerset, but kind of towards Bristol direction, but more the countryside. Dr. Willie, will FPL update Barker's loan move before his price drop? He'll be locked if that's updated soon. Do you think Anderson will start? I think Anderson probably does come straight into that team most likely. Yes, I think Barker's price will eventually freeze, but we have seen in previous seasons them not do anything, and someone like a Lukaku went off on loan and his price continued to drop. That was your own fault if you own Lukaku, let's be real. But Barker is one of those where we really hope they do freeze the price, because I'm keeping him long term because there's no real reason for me to get rid of him right now. I don't need to bring in another 4 million player because, let's be real, there aren't really that many 4 million options you want to go to. So I think personally they should freeze it. Let's make a petition for them to freeze Barker's price. Aiden, my defenders are Gabriel. Oh, G Wiz is saying, hello, Mr. Souček hater. I do apologise, my friend. If Souček does bag a goal, I'll buy you a pint whenever we do have a meet up some point. My defenders are Gabriel, Robinson, Hall, and Trent, or the Ahmad Rogers. So Trent absolutely start. Robinson start. I would start Gabriel over both of those, and I would start Hall. Yes, I literally would start all those defenders over Ahmad and Rogers personally. Kieran, would you do Solanke to Armstrong or roll the transfer and play Murphy instead? Okay, so this is really interesting. The only way that I would roll the transfer on Solanke, and I do think it is a good strategy, by the way, especially for those managers that want to get to someone like an Ollie Watkins. Can I just say, for my team, the reason why I personally didn't go for the roll option and then doing Solanke to Watkins if he was ruled out is because I didn't know in my team where I would free the funds to upgrade Solanke to him. So, for example, I looked at my team and thought, well, I'm not going to sell an Arsenal player to go to Watkins. I'm not going to sell Trent. I'm not going to sell any of my midfielders unless Nkunku really does stink up the place. But then I don't really want to go down to a 5 million. So firstly, I would say, if you roll your transfer, why are you rolling your transfer? Maybe have a little bit of a pre-plan. For me, I couldn't get to Watkins from Solanke, so it was more going to be Isak to Solanke. So, in terms of playing Murphy, absolutely a viable move. You know there's a slight risk with Murphy if you had minutes taken away from him. But my question to you is, if you're rolling the transfer, what are you doing with the roll? Like, how are you going to benefit from rolling that transfer? That's the thing you got to ask yourself right now. Killer Joke, hope you're doing well, mate. Triple Captain Haaland, we will come on to in a minute, because that is definitely a section that deserves it. Just, what have I missed? What have I missed? Aina, all we know is that Nuno said in his press conference that Danilo was the only one really missing. That's all we know. So hopefully, if you are an Aina owner, I probably would just look to start him and hope for the best. And that is all we can go off right now. And again, if you're enjoying the stream, guys, right now, just under 300 people, if you could drop a like, if we could get 100 likes, what a day at the office that is. That would be awesome. And of course, if you're not subscribed right now, maybe consider subscribing. Always massively appreciate it. If anybody that doesn't know, got this bit like ridiculous goal of hitting 18k before the international break, which is game week 3. It ain't happening, but if you could help along the way, always massively appreciated. Is Wood a good option to replace Solanke if I already have Muniz? I think it is. Definitely a good alternative for your team. The thing that I would say to you is, like I say to everybody, rolling the transfer, does that help you maybe get Watkins in the following game week? Wood, I do like, but potentially signing Nketiah, Iwoni waiting in the wings. I think we could see some more rotation for Wood than what we saw previously. Oh, loads of people asking about what price changes happened last night. So let's get that up as we speak. So this is taken from Fantasy Football Fix, just a heads up. So these are the players that rose in price. I'm just going to highlight them here. So these are the players here that rose in price last night. So you can see Wood rose in price, Xerxes, Bernardo, Vardy, and Muniz. Those are the players that rose in price last night. And as you can see, pretty much all of those being forward. So everybody is moving away from Dominic Solanke and others are buying completely different mix of players, which is quite interesting to see. Now, in terms of the players that fell in price, the ones of note, Trippier fell in price last night. Fabian Schär fell in price. We had a fall in price for Sterling. Of course, nobody's got Sterling. Kluivert, Calaflori fell in price. That's interesting. That could be very interesting if his price does fall. The only problem is I can't see another price fall for him because at 2.2%, there's just not enough ownership for his price to fall. Nketiah price fall. And that basically was it last night. So there was no Dominic Solanke price fall. However, looking at the prices here, Solanke, I would not be surprised if we did see a price fall tonight, or at least going into game week 3. I think that's almost a certainty right now. So be interesting to see Solanke's price come game week 3. But if you're in the market for Muniz, if you're in the market for those sort of players, just note they did rise to 6.1 million, which does make it a little bit annoying for your teams. So yeah, that is important. And I put a poll in the chat. I'm going to end it now. But I put who is your Solanke replacement. 57% are saying Muniz. 18% are saying Havertz. 7% are saying Armstrong. And then 18% have said other. I'm just seeing what names maybe have been said. Wood's been mentioned a few times. So people have been going for Wood. Vardy, a couple of people have said about, which is interesting. Might be worth having a look at Vardy in a minute. Yeah, Vardy definitely a consideration. I'll leave that for a couple more minutes. If you haven't voted, let me know if you own Solanke, who your replacement is, or hypothetically, if you had Solanke, what would be your replacement? So yeah, that's a kind of like general update on price changes. What I wanted to do quickly is just give you a bit of an update on what my team would look like for the upcoming game weeks with the transfer that I did make of going to Muniz. So if I just reset my team here, for anyone who doesn't know, this is called the FPL Plus Google Chrome extension. Basically in partnership with Fantasy Football Fix. It is free, completely easy to download. You just need a Fantasy Football Fix free account. But it basically integrates a planning tool with the official site. It is so good. I use it all the time. So this is how my team is looking for game week 2, which I'm more than happy with. Of course, I've used one of my transfers, which you can see in this section here. Transfers made. Perfect. So when we come into game week 3, I will of course have one free transfer available. And this is really important now. Whatever move you make for Dominic Solanke, you want to put yourself in a position where ideally you don't have to make a transfer the following game week. So you can see on my team here, Henderson away against Chelsea, not ideal, but I'm not going to be making a transfer for a goalkeeper. Saliba at home against Brighton, perfectly good. Robinson away against Ipswich, and let's be real, Trent I'm just playing in every single fixture, whatever the fixture is. So away against Man United, not great, but I ain't taking him out of that team. Then in terms of the midfielders, Saka at home against Brighton, fantastic. Jota away against Man United. The only way that becomes a problem is if we see rotated minutes in game week 2, or some sort of news from Arne Slot which suggests Darwin Núñez is going to be integrated into the team. Nkunku at home against Palace, that is the big one in game week 3, because while I don't want to make a transfer, if we see terrible things in game week 2 from Nkunku, and in particular his minutes, and remember coming into game week 3 we have even more of a risk with the likes of João Felix and Neto being integrated into the team. And the thing we also need to remember is, if I take a look at this, the fixtures coming up for Chelsea, they will have a Thursday night game away against Servette, which is really, really important to note. So we have got Chelsea playing obviously against Crystal Palace. But prior to that, they're going to be playing against Servette, which is not ideal at all. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of an update on Nkunku come game week 3. Smith Rowe against Ipswich, then Muniz, Isak and Haaland. Really? I would like to put Rodgers in the team, but I probably would have him first sub unless we see some really promising things in game week 2. So ideally, we roll the transfer in game week 3 and we come into game week 4 with 2 free transfers available to the team. And this is when I was planning a wildcard, and I'm going to be real with you. However, when we look at the team, we need to reassess whether a wildcard is actually suitable. So we got 2 free transfers. Henderson at home against Leicester is great. Saliba not ideal away against Spurs. One thing that I could do here easily is maybe bring in Lewis Hall if I wanted to for Saliba. Robinson, Trent, perfectly fine. Saka, Jota, Nkunku, Smith Rowe, again, not bad at all. And again, Rodgers at home against Everton. I mean, I don't really know who I'd bring him in for, but I would like to bring him into the starting 11. It shows the squad depth I have going into game week 4. Muniz, Isak and Haaland looking great for this game week. The big thing about this is looking at the fixtures that I don't have any ownership in. So Aston Villa at home against Everton is a fixture I would have no ownership in for Ollie Watkins, which is a little bit scary if we see really good things in game week 2 and 3. No Brighton at home against Ipswich, which could be a concern if Matoma and Minter continue to show incredible value. Chelsea I'm not fussed about. Palace at home against Leicester, a little bit of a concern not having like an Eze. And the big one here, coming into Liverpool with Forest at home, Bournemouth at home, Wolves away, and no Mo Salah. That is a slight concern, especially when I only have 2 free transfers available. Now, my dream was that I could get to this game week maybe with 3 free transfers, and I could have done something like this. So I could have done, for example, Haaland down to an Ollie Watkins. I then could have upgraded a, let's say, I could have got rid of Saka, to be honest with you, because the fixtures are a little bit dicey over this period. So we could have done Saka to Salah. Christ, not Saliba. Okay, I'm not sure why Salah's not coming up. Let's get him up. Mo Salah, here we go. And I would have still had 5 million in the bank. So first and foremost, worth noting, I could easily just do that in game week 4. I could do 2 free transfers. I could bring in Mo Salah for the home game against Forest, and I could get rid of Haaland and go down to Watkins. But not having any Man City in this game week where they have Brentford at home is not ideal. It feels a week too early, but then game week 5 and game week 6, Arsenal at home, Newcastle away. Maybe you do just go slightly early, roll with it for 1 game week without Erling Haaland, which is not ideal, but bring in some of these favourable games that we can have. This is definitely an option. And then I flip my team without using a wild card, which I actually think is looking quite tasty doing that move. And we get Watkins in for that home game against Everton. Then coming into game week 5, we've got Salah at home against Bournemouth, which I really would want a piece of that. Obviously, we've got Saliba away against Man City, so he could just sit on the bench if we wanted to. The rest of the team looks pretty ideal. I probably would bring in Rodgers for Smith Rowe. But again, this is all hypothetical speaking. What I want to say is this. With those transfers that I made going to Muniz, it's freed up my team to be flexible in the upcoming game weeks. Be able to bring in an Ollie Watkins without using a wild card. And easily, with 2 free transfers in game week 4, flip my team from a Haaland team to a Mo Salah team. And that was always the plan. The plan was to go for Erling Haaland in the first 3. Game week 2 really is the money fixture where hopefully we get our returns. Then we flip it for when Mo Salah's fixtures get great from game week 4 onwards. And the team doesn't really get that much weaker. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll be super interested to know. Let's get back into the chat because you guys have been asking a lot of questions and I've not been answering them. So we're going to fly through some of these. Okay, so bit of a quick fire here. Saka or Palmer? I'm still on Saka, especially for game week 3 with that home game against Brighton. I think that could be a great game. Nathan, I've had Salah in my team. Would you swap him for Haaland game week 2? Feel like it's such a good fixture? Absolutely not. Everybody's talking about Haaland's fixture home against Ipswich, which is great. But Mo Salah at home against Brentford is equally fantastic. And Mo Salah gets an extra point for a goal and a clean sheet. You stick with Mo Salah. People talking about it right now. I think deep down, people that have Mo Salah, yes, they're scared of Haaland, but I think it's an amazing opportunity to be a little bit differential with your captain and go for Mo Salah. I think he's going to be brilliant. Manolis, I see Immortal Technique is mentioned about waiting for your question, but I can't see your question. Manolis. I will try and find it in a minute, my friend. Wow, chucking it down outside. Horrible day. Horrible day. Okay, let me get some structure in this stream right now because I have skipped a lot of questions. I do apologise. Right, so. Wolverine. Hi, fan. Should I start Hall or Howard Bellis? And should I start Smith Rowe or Nkunku? So for me, I would start. Ooh, that's tricky. I think Howard Bellis is a good start this week. And in terms of Smith Rowe or Nkunku, I think if you own Nkunku and you're not going to sell him, you have to start him is the way I'm looking at it. Would you start Haaland for Salah for Haaland? No, absolutely not. Keep Mo Salah 100%. Should I start Robinson or Saliba? Look, I think Arsenal definitely have the capability of keeping a clean sheet this week, but I think you've got to play the fixture in hand with Robinson at home against Leicester. I rate Palace's team a lot more than Fulham. Is Mateta decent chat? Dan, absolutely. Rewind this if you haven't already, or maybe you watched it when I was chatting about it. For me, Mateta, a phenomenal option, but just look at your team and think to yourself, would the 1.5 million that I would save going to Muniz create opportunities for you later in the game weeks? And for my team, it absolutely does. It means that I can go Isak to Watkins easily. It means that I can upgrade Saka to Salah with a few transfers, whereas Mateta kind of fixes my team in a very rigid structure, which I didn't really want to do so. So I like the idea of having a bit of money in the bank to be flexible in future game weeks. And again, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, thank you again for getting us to 100 likes. That is massively appreciated. It's always like a goal, but sometimes we don't hit it and it's absolutely chill. But you guys have hit it already, and we're going to be going for just under an hour here. So we're not going all the way to the deadline, the absolute deadline. So a little bit of clickbait saying deadline stream, but it kind of is. But I hopefully will cover off most of the questions by now, and hopefully we'll continue to do that. But if you're watching this, you're not subscribed, it'd be awesome to have you as a subscriber right now, even for a week. If you tune in for the game week 3 content and then you don't like it, no hard feelings. You can unsubscribe and I'm chill with it. But maybe give me a chance. And if you enjoy it, always massively appreciated. And for those that are already subscribed, you guys are legends. You guys are legends. Ben Meakin, fair enough, FPL fan. I'm from Weston-super-Mare, if you know where that is. I am literally, I'm going to say on a good day, 45 minutes north of Weston-super-Mare. So you could probably work out roughly kind of where I am. I have 3 Arsenal players with 2 being defenders and an Odegaard. Is this okay for game week 2? Okay, so 2 being defenders, not great, but look, if they get that clean sheet and you're starting both, happy days. What a week that's going to be for you. Odegaard, of course, not as ideal as Saka, but Odegaard's still a good option. I think you keep this week, mate, because game week 3 against Brighton, you can play all those 3 happily. Gee whiz, I don't think you're here anymore, mate, so just caught your old message, but thank you so much, mate, for just being a positive spirit in the chat. It's always really appreciated. IDK, which I'm assuming is, I don't know, maybe, is would a good option. Okay, we covered that one off. I would recommend for anyone that's looking for Solanke stuff, maybe rewind this, as I did kind of touch on it quite in detail earlier on in the stream. How close is Watkins to a price for? I don't think he is close. Just checking for you. No, Watkins is 2 days away by the looks of it. So you're absolutely fine with that one. Which 3 to triple captain KDB? Personally, I don't love it. Don't love it. But who am I to say? If you've got a gut feeling to do that, go for it. Sometimes they are the best parts of the season. Is when you're sat there right now on a Saturday morning and you think to yourself, you know what? I'm going for Kevin De Bruyne. Do not mind it at all if you want to go there. For me, I don't think it is the best move because I personally prefer going for triple captain, first and foremost, on people that would take penalties, because that is a huge factor we need to take into consideration here. Of course, he won't be taking penalties, which is a little bit of a concern. So I think I probably would avoid it right now, personally. But imagine the story. Imagine the story if you've triple captain KDB, going to school, going to work on the Monday, whatever you're in, and you rock up and go, triple captain KDB. Anyone that knows Andy Martin on Twitter, done it a few years back, and he has reached legendary status based on that alone. It was against Wolves, by the way, where he bagged like 4 goals. It was a joke. James, international break will cause headaches after game week 3. Yes, I agree. That definitely will be a scenario to take into account. Manolis was asking about Gibbs White. I can't seem to find it anywhere. I apologise. But Gibbs White, like, I mean, I would start if you own, absolutely. Would I buy him? No. Let me know if I've missed any kind of like context to that question. Is Anderson going to start? Yes, I would expect him to start. Start Pedro or Nkunku? I would start Nkunku. Saliba or Burn? You know what? I'm probably going to back the Arsenal defence here. Look, I'm in a similar boat to you, my friend, because I've got Lewis Hall on my team, but I'm starting Saliba. I personally think Newcastle could see, just because of the Shah red card, it's going to be a bit of a makeshift back line. They haven't signed Mark Gahey. He's going to stay at Palace by the looks of it. So I think, personally, I'm backing the Arsenal defence more than that of the Newcastle one, which might be a little bit controversial. But Watkins isn't fully up to scratch right now. I think it's a good time to play Aston Villa, even though they did have a decent game week 1 performance. Tom's asking, I have Robinson, Porro, Vardy, Ahmad and Smith Rowe with Aina, Harwood, Bellis and Eze on the bench. Would you make any changes to this for game week 2? Absolutely. You do not bench Eze. Do not be benching Eze at all. Take Ahmad out your team and start Eze. And if that goes wrong, I apologise. But if you're paying 7 million for Eze, I mean, look. Give me a second. Let's get up the game week 1 stats here. It's only game week 1. Let's be real. But this is game week 1. Okay. Where are we at with Eze? I'm pretty sure he was a shot monster. Here we go. This is Eze's numbers. He got 2 points, but that is not the story of the game. 7 shots, XG of 0.4, had that free kick wrongly disallowed. I'm scared not to have him. So if I owned him and I benched him this week, I think that is crazy. So you got to start Eze, 1,000,000%. And if it's a case of Eze or Amad Diallo, it's a no-brainer. You start Eze. By the way, is anyone else living in England right now? What is going on? It's 24th of August. It's absolutely chucking it down right now. It's a joke. Got to play football later as well. Would I sell Nkunku for Doku? No. Look, could Doku go off in this fixture? Absolutely. We saw it last season. I absolutely think that Doku could go big. Like, if you were to say to me right now, let's get these fixtures up. Look at these fixtures. Really, what are like the big money fixtures that I could see something happening? Is that one? Absolutely. Like, if you said to me right as a 5-0, then it is going to be City versus Ipswich. Outside of that, that could be a big boy score if Liverpool just click, and that could be a big boy score, I think, probably the way I'm looking at it. So Doku definitely has the potential to go big in that fixture. That feels like maybe a Son fixture. That feels like just obviously a Mo Salah fixture. But my question to you is, you could take a punt on Doku, but then after that, you know it's rotation city for him potentially, and that is a concern for me. And Doku just hasn't done enough to justify being a transfer in our teams. But coming back to the thing about Eze, like, look at those numbers. Top for shot volume, really unlucky. Talisman in that Palace team clearly isn't going anywhere. He's an absolute start. Is Jackson a good replacement for Solanke? Is Jackson a good replacement for Solanke? Ugh, I'm a Chelsea fan. Let's look at the fixtures. Wolves away, Palace at home, Bournemouth away, West Ham away. I don't love them. I'm going to be honest with you. The signing of João Felix, for me, I have no idea what that means to the team. I don't think Maresca likes Nkunku on the wings. So that means Nkunku plays in the 10. But João Felix is a 10. So does that make Jackson's position more locked in? I just think Jackson is a problem. And I just don't think it is worth bringing into your teams right now, personally. Bibra, bro, please review my team. Alisson, Saliba, Porro, Vardial, Romero, Smith Rowe, Gordon, Odegaard, Salah, Isak, Muniz in for Tony, and Porro in for Konsa for a -4. I mean, it looks great this week. Yeah. I mean, it looks really good this week. The only one I would have been a little bit against would have been the Konsa to Porro move for a -4. Because while that looks good in this game week in isolation, if you can see the fixtures here, Villa, terrible this week. But then after that, Leicester, Everton and Wolves. Like, I'd want a piece of Konsa in that. And when we look at Spurs, kind of the opposite. Great this week, then Newcastle, Arsenal. So I'd rather have Porro this week, Konsa every other game week. But taking a -4 for Porro is putting a lot of pressure on Porro to basically go big in game week 2. So I hate reviewing teams once the transfers have been done, because I'm kind of sat here being like, you shouldn't have done it. But I think Konsa to Porro is a perfect example of, you could get rewarded this game week, but maybe you should have looked at it as more of a 4-game week picture. Unless you're wildcard straight after, then it's not a problem. Opinion on Chris Wood. Look, I don't mind Chris Wood at all. Like, you can absolutely go for Chris Wood. I think he's perfectly fine, but still rumours about Enquiries coming. We know Tyrone Woney is a good player. This is a player that is as good as Chris Wood, but his injuries just hinder him massively. Now look at the fixtures for Forest on your screen here, which is just in line with my fat head here. Southampton away, Wolves at home, then some tricky games away against Liverpool and Brighton. So you're very much bringing in Wood for more of a 2-game week basis more than anything. Whereas Muniz, I think you could actually play him in the next 3 and like logically actually say you could. Whereas anybody that brings in Chris Wood and goes, yeah, I'm bringing him in for 3 game weeks and they play him away against Liverpool, like that's not really 3 game weeks, is it? It's 2 game weeks worth of good fixtures. So for me, I think Wood is a great pick. I just prefer Muniz right now, personally. Triple captain Son smart play versus a poor Everton. Norris, this is the way I look at it. With the triple captaincy, it's all about that gut feeling. If you're sat there right now thinking that Son, based off 1 game week, you got that gut feeling he's going to go off. Who am I to tell you not to go there? I absolutely would just go with that gut feeling. Would I do it? Personally, no. But I'm much more of a safer manager than a lot of managers out there. I would probably want to go for... I probably would want to go for a double game week over Son, personally. Still worth getting Muniz, even with the price rise. It depends on who you're selling. Like, obviously, Solanke down and Muniz, I know he went up by 0.1, but it doesn't really massively impact a lot for your team. Of course, unless you need that 1.5 that you would have had last night to upgrade another player. I still think Muniz is a good pick. Adam, how many penalty takers should you have when selecting a wildcard team? I don't really think it is like a case of like you have to have a number, but obviously penalty takers do take into account when you're selecting a player from the same team, so it does have weight in it. Like there's not really a number, to be honest with you, how many you should have, but naturally the good options that you're going to select are normally penalty takers, and if you can get a few in there, it's always beneficial. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think there's like a set number you need for penalty takers. What do I think about Delap from game week 3 onwards? Don't love it, just because, I mean, what's his price point at? I haven't even considered him as an FPL option. I do apologise. So Delap is, for anyone who don't know, Delap at 5.5 million for Ipswich. Problem is, they've just signed Broha as well. So that's going to be direct competition for Delap. For that reason, I wouldn't touch him. Sorry, I got hiccups. Whew. Start Garnacho or Gordon. Oh, I probably would start Gordon just because I know of his guaranteed minutes, but Garnacho obviously can start and do well. You know that risk. Should I start Trippier or Colwell? To be honest with you, I probably would start Colwell because I don't know if Trippier will actually play, which is a problem. Bibro, you have a great voice too. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Gertie saying, I got a Mateta. Is that a good option? I think he's a great option. The only reason why I didn't go there is because I wanted the 1.5 million in the bank to invest elsewhere in my team. That literally was it. Triple captain Haaland. This is a good time to come on to this. Okay, so first and foremost, is Erling Haaland at home against Ipswich a good time to triple captain? 100,000%. So what I first want to say is this. Who are the fixtures that in a single game week you would look at to triple captain from a player? It's going to be Haaland. It's going to be Mo Salah. Maybe Cole Palmer if he finds the figures that we saw last season. Outside of that, in one single game week, which player can you actually sit on and say, I know that this guy in any fixture can get a double-digit haul? I can't think of many outside of Haaland and Salah that I feel comfortable. Let me know in the chat if I'm missing a player there. But Son maybe in the years gone by, but I think Haaland, Mo Salah are the 2 players that I think to myself, these are the guys that I know can have a double-digit haul in any fixture. So this, of course, is one of them. Ipswich at home. Now we got to look at Haaland's one of those players that absolutely could deliver a big haul. What are the fixtures that he could deliver it in? So Ipswich at home in game week 2 is absolutely one of those games. I keep looking. Game week 9 at home against Southampton, I feel like is a potential triple captaincy territory as well. I look at the rest of the games. I think to myself, who would I honestly look at and want to put a triple captain on later on in the season? I think this Could be a brilliant fixture, game week 30 at home against Leicester. That is another single game week opportunity. Outside of that, I'm going to be real. I don't think there are many other games, because I would never do it as an away game. Let's be real. I just personally don't feel comfortable saying to myself, I'm going to do Erling Haaland away against Southampton. I just don't think I ever would. So in terms of the home games, I think you've got this week. I think you've got game week 9. And then we have got game week, what was the one I said? Where's it gone? Game week 30 is an option for your team. So there are going to be other opportunities for you to triple captain someone like Haaland in a single game week. In terms of Mo Salah, just ignore this. I'm just looking at the fixtures in isolation. If I was to triple captain Mo Salah, what would I honestly feel comfortable triple captaining him in? So in a single game, we remember. So we've got game week 18 at home against Leicester. Definitely a viable pick. Ipswich at home in game week 23. And Southampton at home in game week 28. I apologise for anybody that is a fan of those teams, but those are the ones that personally I'm targeting as triple captaincy territory in single game weeks. So I think there's going to be opportunities later on in the season. The risk that you have with waiting for the triple captain later on in the season is that you don't know if that player is going to be fit, and you don't know whether the Champions League is going to have an impact on those teams. That's the two big factors that we need to remember. And that is why triple captain and Haaland in this game week is very popular, because Haaland's fully fit. There literally is nobody that can take minutes away from him unless Pep goes for some crazy false 9 formation. He hasn't got it now that Alvarez has left the team. So we know Haaland's fit. We know the fixture's fantastic. It's the first home game of the season, and he's got players around him that are fit now. De Bruyne, Foden's been integrated back into the team. So I'm going to be honest. If you're looking at a single game week triple captain, I don't think there's any better than Haaland. I honestly don't. I think if you are not triple captain in Haaland this week, but you're also saying to yourself, yeah, but I might do it in another single game week, I think you just do it now. Everything is there for a triple captaincy option. The reason why I personally am not doing it is because we've spoken about it in previous videos. There are going to be less double game weeks this season than historical seasons. The reason being is because of the way that the cup has changed. We're not going to see many blank game weeks this year, which means that we're not going to see as many double game weeks this season. There will be some, but not as many as what we saw, those huge doubles. And the problem with holding off later on in the season is that we have other chips available, as you can see. Bench boost is, I personally think, really important to play in a double game week to fully utilise those 15 players that you're inevitably going to have on a bench boost. Triple captain, ideally you play in a double. Free hit, I'm very, very chill about. I've played it in blanks. I've played it in doubles. I think you're fine with. Wildcard, of course, I think you just play in a single game week. And then this mystery chip, this bloody mystery chip that we have no idea about. So I always like to play in kind of like what I know. I know nothing about this, so I'm just not even going to consider it. People are talking about, yeah, but what about if you need the mystery chip in a double game week? We don't even know what it is. So let's just ignore the mystery chip for now, because if I was worrying about things like this, then you'd be worried about everything, basically. The unknown is not something to worry about. So really, bench boost, we need to consider and triple captain in a double game week. Now, there will be enough double game weeks for us to play both of those in those doubles. The big question is, are we actually going to have favourable double game weeks for those players? And that is a risk that we're taking. It's a risk that I'm willing to take, because I think we will get a double game week. Most likely, that will be favourable enough for us to trust a certain player for triple captain. And I'm going to go for that. I just prefer players that have 180 minutes and I can put the captaincy on them and triple it. But what I will say is this. The triple captain is by far the most overhyped chip in the game. The reason being is this. Triple captain Haaland this week, okay? Everybody that owns him is captaining him. So if he gets a 10-pointer, I get 20 points. If you triple captain him, you get 30 points. So you're basically getting 10 points on me. Like, that's great. But I just think there are going to be... By the way, why is Haaland's picture like that? Is he not opening his eyes? Like, bloke needs to learn to open his eyes. For me, I think it is so overhyped. Like, you might get like plus 10 points on a good day, but that's not going to make or break your season, is it really? I think triple captain is all about having fun. And if you're sat there right now thinking, I want it for Ipswich at home, then I think you should absolutely do it. So we're going to get the poll in because this is a good time to start a poll. What game week 2 captaincy plan picks? So what are you doing, guys? I'm going to put Haaland TC, which means triple captain. Haaland, Salah, and I think people will go for Son if they own him. But if you have anything outside of the poll, please do let me know in the chat. I'll be super interested. But based on what I said, to conclude, I'm going to say this in terms of triple captaincy. If you are waiting for another single game week to triple captain a player, I think that is your reason to do it now, personally. Because yes, there will be a couple more opportunities, but you do not know whether that player is going to be fully fit and raring to go. And there are only really Haaland and Salah that you can truly trust on a triple captain in a single game week, in my eyes. If you are of the opinion that you're waiting for a double game week, then I think you're fine to wait for your triple captain. But like I said, guys, if you're sat there thinking to yourself, yeah, but I want to wait for a player later on in the season for a triple captain in a single game week, I think you just get it done and get it done this week, guys. But let me know your thoughts in the poll. Let's get back to some of these questions. Fancy starting Muniz over Havertz. Oof. What is the rest of your team, my friend, for you to be in a situation like that? I would want to start both, but if I had a choice, I would start Muniz over Havertz, controversially, but it's Villa. It's not going to be an easy game. Should I start Nkunku as 5th midfielder or João Pedro as 3rd forward? Who's more likely to score points this game week? I think both could do okay. I just think to myself, if you're going to keep Nkunku, you have to start him this week, basically. Oh, Stemka, you do not be taking a -4. Start Anderson. If he doesn't play, he's going to get 0 minutes. Harwood Bellis comes in as an automatic sub. That's very simple, that one there. Play Gibbs White and sell Solanke to Watkins game week 3, or buy Watkins now and play him. Oh my God, play Gibbs White this week 100% and wait for game week 3. Can you talk about Vardy? I can talk about Vardy. Thank you for asking. So, in terms of Jamie Vardy, personally, I'm going to put it out there. I'm not a fan of going there, even though, of course, he is just a bit of a goat. He's old. I'm just going to put it out there. He's old. He ain't going to be playing full 90 minutes each and every game week, I don't think. So look at the Leicester fixtures here. Fulham away, Villa at home, Palace away, Everton at home. I think that's very mixed. I think there's some good fixtures in there. There's some bad fixtures in there. Now, in terms of, what's that mean? Some good, some bad. In terms of Jamie Vardy's price point, let's get him up. So I know he's a 5.5 million forward. Sorry, 5.6 million forward now. So obviously good here in game week 1. We know the fixtures are pretty mixed, but there's some tasty stuff around here. Is he going to start for Leicester? I think he will. I don't think they've got many other options available to them. So I think Vardy will play. We do need to note, though, in game week 1, he did play with an injury. He basically just forced himself to play. Obviously looked okay. But this is a guy who, of course, is getting on a little bit. We could see managed minutes for him to get through these periods. I absolutely don't mind it. But I just don't love it either, guys. I just don't love it either. The reason why I don't love it is I just don't love Leicester. I prefer Brighton with João Pedro. I prefer paying a little bit more and getting Muniz at 6. That's my thought. I just don't love Vardy, but I could be completely wrong on that one. I do apologise. Aina to Munoz for a -4. No, I would just play Aina and hope for the best. Ahmad or Kwanzaa to start. I think both are risks, so I probably would just start Ahmad and hope for the upside. Capri, hey man, great stream as always. Thank you, mate. What do you think about me captaining Felix if he starts, bro? Way too risky. I would not be going there. Bruno to Saka for a -4. Absolutely not. I would be keeping Bruno 1,000,000%. Play Rodgers or Hall this game week. I would play this game week Ben, just because I rate the Arsenal team so highly, and I'm a Chelsea fan, I probably would start Hall and hope for the best. And Solanke to Watkins next game week, absolutely fine. Play Hudson-Odoi or Murphy. I have Isak too. I think if you have Hudson-Odoi, you probably do play him in this fixture away against Southampton. Concert Vardy for -4. No, Jordan, I wouldn't, because Concert after this game week is a brilliant pick for your teams with those great fixtures. Solanke to Muniz from -4. Andre, I don't love it from -4 now. If you had the squad available, I probably would just start someone ahead of them. Worth buying Rico Lewis if I plan a wildcard in game week 4. Yeah, Lucas, I think Rico Lewis is a brilliant short-term pick with those fixtures that you can see on your screen. So, Man City there. Ipswich, West Ham is good. The only thing I will say is it's Pep. You do know that at times he does just throw curveballs out there, like starting a Carl Walker, for example. So be a little bit cautious, but I do think Rico Lewis is worth the punt, especially if you have another defender available. Worst case scenario, he just gets benched and you start your other defender in that scenario. For those asking about the planner that I had on the screen, this one here, when it loads, this is called the FPL. It's called FPL Plus, free Google Chrome extension. All you need is a Fantasy Football Fix account, and it's totally free to create. And then you can basically integrate this into the official site and plan up to 5 game weeks in advance. You can build 5 separate drafts. It's so damn good. Honestly, it's so underrated. It just doesn't have the love that it should do, really. But it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. Something that I use all the time. Just checking Twitter to see if there's any sort of news that's come out, guys. So I apologise. I'm just going to look down here for 2 seconds just to see if there's anything that I'm missing right now, because I want to make sure I'm not missing any kind of big news. Yeah, I don't think... I don't really think there's anything out, guys. So I don't think we're going to get stuck with anything. Yeah. No, there's no real news. I don't think we'll get anything between now and the deadline. What is the early kickoff, though, guys? Early kickoff is Brighton Man United. So, guys, anyone right now that is in a position where you're looking to start Amad Diallo, you might be in luck. I would really recommend, I'm not doing this stream up until the deadline, I do apologise. So I first do recommend, if you need to be on a stream, get on someone like a Let's Talk FPL, follow someone like a Lazy FPL on Twitter or Let's Talk FPL. If we're going to get any early Man United news, those guys usually, at least if they don't get it, they share around the information. So you could get lucky and get some Amad Diallo news before the deadline. So guys, I'm going to go for another 5-10 minutes and then we're going to wrap up the stream, just because I do have to jump on TikTok and do my live stream over on there. So please drop any questions in the chat now. We're going to do a 5 to 10 minute kind of quick speed run Q&A. Again, if you're enjoying it, if we can hit 150 likes, I feel bad, because at the start I was like, can we hit 50? You guys done it. Then we hit 100. Can I be cheeky and ask for 150? If we can, that's awesome. And again, if you're enjoying it, guys, please do hit that subscribe button. We got this audacious goal of hitting 18k before the international break, which is game week 3. Like, it's a crazy goal, but if we can get there, that'll be sick. So let's do a Q&A. Just going to quickly spend 1 minute just kind of going through a kind of a macro view. So this is my team. I'm locked in. I've done Solanke to Muniz. For anyone that's wondering, I didn't want to go to Mateta because I wanted to free up funds in the bank to be flexible in future game weeks. I personally am not triple captain in Haaland because I want to wait for a future double game week, as I like to go for players that have 180 minutes as opposed to 90. However, if you're in a position where you're looking to play it on a single game week, I don't think there are any better than Haaland this game week, because he's fit. Man City have got all their players available pretty much, and the fixture's fantastic. Outside of that, Nkunku I think is good for this week. Pedro Neto sounds like he could be out, which only enhances Nkunku's minutes as there's less players to take the minutes away. João Felix could get some minutes, but I don't see him starting, as Enzo Maresca is very all about systems, and Felix hasn't had time to adapt to the system, so I'll be very surprised if he comes straight in. That's kind of a macro view. Let's get into the questions for the next 5 minutes before we wrap it up. So let's get cracking. Oh, and guys, for the ones people that voted in the poll, 150 votes in the poll roughly. 50% to go for Haaland, 33% to go for triple captain Haaland, 12% on Salah, and 3% on Son. So let's get into some of these questions. I've covered thoughts on Vardy. Do check it out. I personally don't love it, but if you want to go there for nostalgia, you can. Start Sanchez or sells. It sounds like Sanchez is the number one keeper based on the embargo quotes from Maresca, but Chelsea are crap defensively, so I'm probably going to say sells. I'd captain Isak. No, I have no Salah or Haaland. Callum, if you have no Salah or Haaland, obviously it's a bit of a problem. I do think Isak is a good alternative for you, or another Liverpool option if you have it. Oh, if you have Son, I'll go Son, 100%. 100% Son. Would I play in Nkunku or Robinson? I probably would go Robinson because of the guaranteed minutes. But what I will say is this. If you have Nkunku and you're keeping him, why are you keeping him? I think you've got to start him. So to answer that question, I'd probably start Nkunku. It's brave, but I was starting Nkunku. You know the risk, though. Have you confirmed Solanke out for Muniz? Yes, I have, Logan. Solanke has been sold for Muniz. Munoz or Hall to start this week? It would be Munoz, 100%. Diallo or Hall? I would start Hall. Eslam, my team is basically the same as yours. I just have Gordon instead of Smith Rowe with a slightly different bench. Who would you recommend? Starting Gordon. Gordon's perfectly fine to start this week. Better than Smith Rowe, probably. Solanke to Muniz / Armstrong, or switch to a 3-5-2 and go for Eze for a -4. Stefan, I personally wouldn't take the -4, and I would look to just do Solanke to whichever of those two that you prefer. I preferred Muniz, if it helps. Could 3 Fulham players be bad? Yes. I already see this happening. Always happens where we get a very, very kind of confident on a team. I had it with Man United last year where I had Rashford and bloody Bruno Fernandes. I could snap my pen at the thought of what I'd done last season. And I feel like I'm going down the same avenue right now. The thing about Fulham is this: 6 million, 5.5 million, 4.5 million. You literally are buying like Erling Haaland with 3 players. And I think they do offer good FPL value. So it could be a trap, a 100% a trap. But I also do like Fulham as a team. I think they're a good team with a good manager. And I feel content going for them for the next few fixtures. Should I transfer out Gordon for Doku? I just don't love it. Could Doku bag a hat-trick this week? Yes, because the fixture is fantastic. But I look more beyond one game week, and I think Gordon is better than Doku. Bernardo Silva is a differential. He could be great, like I say, for Doku for this game week in isolation. But Gundogan's been signed. There's plenty of options that could play in certain positions. Foden's back. De Bruyne. I'll be concerned long term. KDB or Foden? I always prefer Foden, personally. Do I take a 4-point hit to get rid of Solanke? Callum, I think no. I think there are very few options that are justifiable with a -4. If you wildcard, do you get 0.01 million back? Don't know what that means, Enno. I have to elaborate on that one. Start Gordon or Ruben Diaz for 6 short points. Yeah, Ruben Diaz is just almost a guaranteed pick. But I think if you own Gordon, you're paying 7.5 million. You've got to start him. Start 2, Porro, Garnacho, or Lewis Hall. I would start Porro, and I'd probably take the punt on Garnacho personally. But what I will say is this: we are likely going to get some Man United early team news, so I would monitor that. If Garnacho is benched, then absolutely play Lewis Hall. Chris Wood or Smith Rowe to start, that is a tough one. I hate that decision for you. Probably going to say Chris Wood. But I get it. It's a tough one. Start 2, Porro, Garnacho. I've covered that one off. Who would you captain between Palmer, Saka, Jota, Bruno Fernandes, Isak, Eze, and Trent? I personally, of that bunch, would go for... I mean, Trent is a nice differential there. Trent or Jota, personally. Starting Nkunku or Smith Rowe, I think if you're keeping Nkunku, you've got to start him. Ankik saying, Hendo, Trent, Mazwari, Porro, Bruno, Saka, Nkunku, Jota, Winks, Haaland, Isak. In bench, I have Pedro. Should I transfer anyone in or stay with this? I would actually sub Winks out for Pedro. 3 Arsenal players, 1 mid and 2 defence is that bad. It's bad for this week. It's good for next week. That's the way you got to look at it. Vardiel, Robinson, Porro and Gabriel, who to bench? I think you have to start Vardiel. You have to start Porro, and it's a toss-up between Robinson and Gabriel. I think you've got to play the fixture, and I probably would play Robinson. Bernardo Silva's differential. Personally, I don't love it. Gordon or Eze for me now. That he's pretty much locked in at Palace. Starting Nkunku or Gibbs-White. I prefer... Look, I'm going to say Nkunku. If you're keeping Nkunku, I think you've got to start him. Right. We, unfortunately, are going to have to wrap it up there, guys, pretty much. Annoyingly. I might try and do 5 more minutes. But I can't go until the deadline. Because I got to jump on a TikTok live, which is a problem. So, let me just quickly fly through some of these. Garnacho not starting. I don't know on that one, mate. Is there any news? Let's have a look. Can't see any news, but what we'll say is this: make sure you do follow some of the accounts out there, like Let's Talk FPL, for example, because if there is going to be news, they most likely will get it, or if they don't get it, they'll at least share it around with other people. Archie Moon is in or no? A very difficult one for me to answer, just like on a blank statement there, but I do think he is a good option for the next few weeks. I took Nkunku out for Doku. Hope it works. Wes, I am hoping that works for you, mate, because that is an amazing move if it does come off. Eze or Diaz, who to bench? No, Smith Rowe or Diaz. Is that Luis Diaz? I would start Luis Diaz over Smith Rowe, definitely. Should I start Garnacho or Hudson-Odoi, please? Milo, if we get news that Garnacho is starting, I would play him. Doku or Garnacho to start? Doku. To buy? Neither. Bernard, I have Barco, Quansah, Pedro, Porro, Johnson and Hall and Naught in the bank. And I can't go up to a 4.5 minute defender now that I only have 2 starting defenders. So you got Pedro Porro, which is great. And you got Hall that can start. But you got 0 in the bank. So I would be looking to, obviously you're in a position where you got 2 4 millions and you got Quansah, which is not ideal. So I think, sadly, you just got to start Quansah this week and hope for the best, my friend. Garnacho or Hudson-Odoi to start. Like I said to you, mate, we should get some early team news from Man United. Make sure you do follow Lazy FPL on Twitter. Follow some of the good stuff like Let's Talk FPL. If you get news at Garnacho starting, there's your answer. I would start Garnacho. Otherwise, probably go for Hudson-Odoi. Actually, no, I'll just start Garnacho regardless, probably. Is Semenyo a good differential? Yes, I think he is a good differential. But looking at the fixtures coming up for them, for Bournemouth, I mean, Newcastle, Everton, Chelsea, Liverpool, I just don't love it. Don't love the fixtures at all. I think there are much better options out there. Right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I apologise that I can't go all the way up until the deadline, but I really appreciate you guys being here and for the support over the Game Week 2 content. It's been a really good week. I really do appreciate everybody. If you want to stick around, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. It's always massively appreciated. And if you enjoyed the stream, drop a like on the way out. There is loads of people online right now doing streams. So if I haven't answered your question, please jump on one of their streams. Hopefully you will get answered by them. Have a great day. That's the most important thing. Don't let FPL control your mood. Have an amazing day. We'll talk real soon. I'll be around on Sunday for a live stream, a bit of a reaction to the game week. Take care. Have an amazing week, guys. And I'll see you real soon. Cheers.